back.
We're back. Episode 2. Look at us. We made it. I'm Brandy.
I'm Melissa.
And so today is September 1st. Our goal is to basically film these videos on Fridays. We're going to drop our videos every Monday. So pay attention and make sure to subscribe like everyone says, please. So today is September 1st, like I said, and we are going into Suicide Awareness Month. So basically, when I first met Melissa, I had a girlfriend who took her life 4 years ago. And whew, I'm going to get through this. So basically, my first session with her, we had it on the day that she passed on. And so she came through, and I got a lot of good messages. But I think the biggest thing for me is to share my story about my history with what I kind of call now my suicidal ideation. And so I think not very many people know my story. It's kind of something that I've dealt with since I would say I was a teenager. And especially through the years and 2 decades of migraines, I think the only person who really knows the truth is a couple girlfriends and my oldest daughter when she took her life, and I had a discussion with her about it. So I think it's time that people start telling their story, not feel shameful about it, but I also, where is it coming from? I mean, for me, I know that sometimes it was the antidepressants. I feel like sometimes it was just my mental health issues. But, with one thing with Melissa was that when I met her, I did get some messages, and it was something that made me feel better. So I also want people to know out there that if you did have someone who took their life and you would like to try to reach out to that person, you have Melissa here to reach out to, and you could do a session with her. It really did help me. I feel better about getting to this point in my life and telling my story. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big topic. I also, in my teenage years and before my divorce, I was on antidepressants and often thought, oh, I'm just going to go out and walk in front of a bus or something because this is ridiculous. What am I doing? What am I doing? What is this? There has to be something more than this.
Yeah.
And I was on antidepressants for a while for panic attacks and those types of things. And it was as I was gearing up to leave my relationship, it was just getting so much. And I was getting ready to leave, but I was really scared. And interestingly enough, once I left and I made it through, I stopped taking the antidepressants and I never went back. So it's just interesting how we're called to certain things. Like, we might be told you're going to be on this forever. This is going to be who you are forever. But it's not. It's like we're going through a rough time. These things come up. And then we make it through.
Yeah.
We make it through.
Like, I would say that, I took, which I'm just going to call it out, I took Wellbutrin, and I took it for a decade, and then I was off for almost, it seemed like a decade. And then I would kind of flounder off and on when I thought, I wasn't doing good, or when COVID hit, and it was like, God, what am I doing now? I felt like I needed a boost, and I went back on it. And when I would have those moments of thinking, crazy things, which after meeting Melissa and a lot of things that have happened here in Flagler, I sometimes wonder if the thoughts that I would have during these times, whether I was on antidepressants or not, even came from past life experiences that I would have, because they would be so visual. The things, again, driving off the road, I'm just going to go drive into the tree, or, I'm just going to say it, hanging myself, because that's another way out. And yeah, they were just so visual for me, and I would know that, God, this isn't me. I never felt like I was depressed, because I just never thought that as a person, that why am I depressed? How can I be depressed? But I also know that I've also been the type of person where I think, how can I live another 50 years on this planet? How is this possible? Yesterday I was watching that Netflix special, The Blue Zones just came out. And in the Blue Zones, people are living to 100 years old. And I'm thinking, what? I'm 48. I'm going to live another 50. I could live another 50 years. Probably not in the United States. That's not happening. But, to think, yeah, what am I doing for another 50 years here?
Right. And for me, like, I've completely shifted my life.
Yeah.
Like I said, the last one, I was a teacher for 20 years, and I did, the stay-at-home mom and the teacher. And now, I'm in my 50s, and I'm suddenly starting over. I'm
Yeah.
starting over. So what do I do for these next 50 years? But I've found myself through
Right.
all of this. And I think part of why we go through what we go through in these things we don't know ourselves. What is causing it? Why am I feeling this? And we search, and there's really no answers out there. I mean, you can go to a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever you need to get you through, but there's also these other realms. There's generational trauma. Perhaps someone in your family, in your line, had committed suicide. Perhaps you committed suicide in another lifetime. And those things are popping up for you to look at over and over. The veils are thin right now with everything that's going on the planet. And we're connecting more and more to these non-physical realms. So there's a whole slew of other reasons why, There's also hidden trauma. So I had trauma from my past that happened to me between 3 and 6, and I didn't remember. So I'm working on autopilot, going through my life, doing certain things and not knowing why, until my sister passed and it triggered some memories. And I went, oh, there's a whole bunch of abuse here that I didn't even know about. I completely blocked out. So these things cause us to have these, suicide ideations, or these breakdowns, or these panic attacks, or whatever they are, and we don't really know why or where they're coming from. And there's so much guilt attached to thoughts of suicide as well, right?
Yeah, like even yesterday I was thinking about, what do I want to talk about, telling my story, and a lot of it was just, like I came up with this like hashtag stop the shame, because it is, I feel like we have so much shame with all these thoughts that we have, and it's something to be talked about because people just don't want to talk about it. Like, I think people assume a lot of times my excuse never to go anywhere, which, I mean, it was true, was I had migraines. So I have a migraine, I have a neurological disorder, and what I have realized in the last year in my RV was, it is a lot of work. I've had to work really hard to, work on my mind every day, which has helped my anxiety, my depression, and my migraine. And there's a way out. But even like yesterday, I was saying I was watching a Netflix special. I mean, I still have moments, and I still have a migraine here and there. I just don't have them every day like I was for a long time, or felt like 20 days out of the month. And when you have that, you also then get more depression and more anxiety and those types of things. But understanding that there is a way out, it's just going to take a lot of work, which brings me to my YouTube channel also, where I have a huge playlist section. So if you click the playlist section, I've been doing a pretty decent job of putting albums, and that's a really good place to start. I was also having thoughts the other day about how if doctors just didn't prescribe us pill after pill after pill, which by the time I was 33 years old, I was probably popping 14 different prescriptions for everything. And if they could just say, hey, go check out Dr. Joe Dispenza and all of his work, and how to do meditation and breath work and that type of stuff, we can make some progress.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I was diagnosed with a thyroid issue, and the doctor told me, you're going to be on this medication your whole life. And this is slightly off the topic of suicide, but it was like, well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean I'm going to be on it my whole life? Why? What caused it? Why am I here? What are we going to do? And it was like no answers to that. It was just, here, take this.
Yeah.
Here. But I was like, I don't understand. I don't understand. There were no, what did I do? Because you feel like, what did I do? Right?
Yeah.
What did I do to get here? Again, got out of a relationship, stopped taking it, never went back. So the emotional stuff that we go through, the energies that we have within our bodies trigger responses. And our body is giving us messages over and over and over. It really is our best friend. And if you can start tuning into, well, what's going on with my body and what is it trying to tell me, in addition to, seeking out something, a change in diet or meditation or those types of things, it's really a balance. If the doctor, I went back to the doctor and he's like, it's like he forgot that I was supposed to take that forever. And he's like, I see nothing but good health for you. Wow. What are you doing? It's like yoga, meditation. He's like, wow, can you give me some places or some things that I can recommend to my patients? And I was like, sure.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is absolutely 100% true. That if we start changing the way we look at health as this bigger picture, instead of taking all these symptoms and all of these generalizations that we have about all of these things and look at the individual and say, well, what's going on? On a energetic level, on a physical level, on an emotional level, all of it, like really well-rounded. And there are naturopaths that are out there doing that now.
Yeah.
There really are. My sister, when she was ill, there was a naturopath that came in, and she was in hospice, and he was ready and willing to say, I can help. We need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. Not going to be easy. My sister didn't want to. She chose not to.
Yeah.
She's like, no, it wasn't her belief system. But I watched him, and he was consulting. I asked him questions about her health, and I could tell he was listening to answers from somewhere.
Yeah.
And then, then he gave me what he thought it was and why. So it's such a bigger picture, all of this, whether it's suicide, because in some ways, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this from family, but I feel like my sister, she did not take her life.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, even
she didn't, I felt like she wanted to go.
Yeah.
There was just too much, and she wanted to go.
And I think that's the point of actually having this discussion today, too, is being vulnerable and being honest and telling these true stories. And we do have families, trust me, like my mom and dad are going to be shocked should they watch this episode, that I even had any of these thoughts growing up, I'm pretty sure. But, again, depression runs in my family. But maybe had someone taught us back then, and I had been taught what I know now to pass on to my daughters so that they know meditation, yoga, breath work. We're finally in a place where these kids who are being born now, that the moms these days are, wow, I think they're getting so much more knowledge, especially because of social media, and they're able to teach their children a different way. In other countries, they've been doing these things with their children since they were babies, but I feel like not here. We're all just, go get on your phone or just go to school, not paying attention to anything that's happening and the stuff that is going on with everybody. And there's so many people leaving right now, as they're saying, because there's so much trauma. There is, generational trauma, which, I mean, it's just there. And if you don't deal with it, that's how you need to make progress, is you got to deal with it. Yeah. And talk about it. And that's what we're trying to do here, is have this discussion. We'd love for people to make comments below about what's going on in your life right now, and what are you dealing with. We're going to talk about this a little bit each episode for this month. And so if you have a question also for Melissa, you can ask your question and we can answer it on the next episode. Or if you have personal questions, or you need someone to reach out to. I feel like on YouTube, when I watch the comments on a lot of pages, that there's so many people out there looking to help other people, and commenting back to people who are actually in a space where they are reaching out because they don't even really know who you're talking to, and so sometimes that's just easier for people to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to see. I had questions, and I tried to make notes for this episode, so, I'm going to dive in. Hold on. 1 second here.
the different sessions that I've done too. I've had 2 sessions in which someone who had passed via suicide had come through, and it was both. They were very different stories, yet had some similarities. Sometimes there are exit points, and people take them.
Yeah.
You know, and there's no in the spirit realm, which is, you know, my sort of specialty, is there's no stigma around it. We are in a dream. This is a dream. This is the holographic universe. This is not real. We trick ourselves. We think this is real. And so sometimes it's like people are just ready to wake up from this dream and go home.
Yeah.
And it's really a whole different way of looking at it, and it takes a lot of open-mindedness to look at it in that way. But I think we will be moving in that direction. But being here and helping people through this dream, through this earth school, this really is an earth school, and we're all here, and we're all learning, and we're all growing, and we're evolving as souls. And sometimes some are ready to leave, and it changes the whole conversation around death. That's another episode.
Yeah, that's a whole another episode. I feel like I went through my notes, and I feel like we did a good job of covering what I wanted to talk about. I am going to, obviously, I'll post her YouTube. I'm going to post the link to my session with her, so you can watch that if you want to see what happens. You know, basically go from crying to laughing. Like, yeah, you run the whole gamut when you're going to do a healing session, pretty much, with Melissa. You know, you're going to learn something, you're going to grow and evolve. Yeah. You know, where to next, other than we're just here to talk about this. This is Suicide Awareness Month, so let's not be shamed about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, what are your feelings about it?
And vulnerability. I'm sitting here feeling a little exposed.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little exposed with things that I talked about that I haven't talked about with anyone other than close people. And so there's this vulnerability has popped up several times today. To be vulnerable is to be real, is to be authentic. And to be vulnerable is to have courage and to have this strength. I was writing for kids, and one of the superpowers that I had been writing about in this book for children was the power of vulnerability. The power to let yourself just be you and to talk about things that other people might not want to talk about. So as I'm sitting here with you and feeling your vulnerability as well as mine, I'm feeling it very strongly. That just thank you. Thank you. And to anyone watching, thank you for understanding, and thank you for, again, being open-minded and for being curious about a new way of looking at things. A new story around suicide. What's the new story?
Yeah, that's a great way to end this. You know, and again, I thank Melissa for, you know, my healing session with her. I got a lot from it. Like I said, I will post that. So yeah, let's all just take it easy on each other, love each other. That's what we're here for. My YouTube is Trip for Healing, and I'm Brandy.
And I'm Melissa Dawn at Light Girl Rising.
Bye-bye. That was good.